Woo! What's happening? What's happening, gentlemen? I am wanting to add a little bit of corporate music before we get started. We won't keep this too long, but
very well. We'll have the corporate three-balled speaker show today.
There we go.
And you see how Frank kind of he got in the corporate mode too. Frank was like, very well.
You got to get the chest up. Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah. Well, listen, gentlemen. Everybody, welcome to another episode, Three Bald Speakers. You've got Frank Kitchen, the man. You've got Ramon Ray, the other man. And you got me, RK3. I didn't shave. Me
neither. What's got November when you grow the beards and stuff like that. What do you call when we don't shave?
I don't know. The other side. I don't know. Mine's on the other side right now.
But it looks good. I know for sure. I have to shave, which for me, I don't know, Frank, if you shave every day, but I only shave 2 days a week. When it grows out, it just on camera, it doesn't look as good as some Hollywood movie star. I don't know why, but 2 day, it looks like stubble,
Yeah. And for me, because I got some stuff going on tomorrow, the idea is I'm waiting for it. So I got the stubble, but I'll shave tomorrow to have that close look and be on camera. So that I guess you can call us, the divas that we are. You got to make sure we're looking good on camera.
You know it.
Yeah, how you doing?
Hey, listen, if you are in the place, if you're watching or hanging out on the show with us today, listen, just give us a chat in the comment here. I see Saucony Prince. He's talking about stubble too. All right, that's one of my dudes. He's got a little bit of a beard going on, and I don't remember. Is he a bald speaker? He's kind of a bald speaker. I think so. Yeah. He's got a little bit of low crop cut there. Yeah. So today, let's just chop it up for a minute. What's happening in your world? Frank, let's start with you, man. What's new? What's happening in your world, brother?
Well, we've got some sunshine here in Arizona, so I thought I'd bring some sunshine in everybody's life today. So I moved outside. I know you two aren't that happy with me, but I figured
No, we're not. Not at
all. I'd work to bring some sunshine, but no, the big piece from my life right now is just going to the point of, I know we'll be talking about it later, is just, okay, we're almost at the end of February. We got work to do. Right. So for me, it's just refocusing, and I've got the goals, and I looked at the goals right now, and I'm not on the pace that I want to be. So it's just refocusing, saying, okay, let's go hit these goals.
Wait a minute. What goals, Frank? You looked at what goals? Like goals written down on the wall?
Yeah. Oh, I've got them written down on the wall. I've got them on my daily affirmation.
Maybe that's why my business is not growing like it should. I don't have any goals written down.
Oh man. Yeah.
That's a good tip, though. Tip number one.
There's a new segment right there.
There we go. Write your goals down. But I must say, Frank, in fairness, I do have kind of a vision board-ish type thing going on. I have that right here. So I don't know if it's the same thing as goals, but I got a little something there written down. So yeah.
So is that how that works? You write down goals and growth happens? We're talking about three bald speakers. I may need to we'll see what happens, man. So what's happening in your world, Ramon? What's going on, brother?
Yeah, a lot of things. I mean, as Frank said, I've just been surprised. I shouldn't be, because I don't think time goes any faster today than it did 10 years ago. But it just seems that time is going by quickly, Robert. I mean, you think about February, we were just celebrating Christmas. I told my wife she needs to start shopping for Christmas cards and thinking about what decorations we want for Christmas 2021. I mean, really. So, but I'm blessed. I mean, listen, I'm happy. Got some good client business going on here, some shows I'll be doing. Happy to announce, I have a workshop on akimbo, was launched by Seth Godin many years ago. So I have a workshop on there called Small Business Workshop. So that's what's going on with me. I think a period of growth, and I'm happy for that and blessed. And I thank God for that.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So I think as I was sharing with you before the show, what's new with me is this. I am officially the dad of 3 teenagers.
That's a big deal.
My youngest turned 13 on Friday, and so we went out yesterday. We asked what he wanted, did he want a party, etc. So he said he wanted to go paintballing.
Nice.
So
okay.
we invited.
I went nice. Frank went.
So we invited.
We'll explain that one in a second.
Yeah, we invited 10 of his friends. And, this really nice outdoor paintballing spot that we went to. And so we're driving to the paintballing place. And my wife turns to me and she's like, did his voice get just like deeper all of a sudden? And I said, no, it's kind of been like that. She said, well, I guess I'm kind of comparing it to his brothers, but we had his younger cousin in the car with us who was 11.
Sure.
And his voice hasn't changed. So she's like, wow, I'm just hearing his voice in comparison to Darius. And I just realized how deep his voice has gotten.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, all of this is happening under your roof, babe.
That's growth. But congratulations to you, Robert. I mean, that's a good thing. And again, shout out to Sisone, who says, the good news, you are no longer at the top of the prayer list. So thank you all for joining. And those listening, feel free to comment. You encourage us.
I got a question for Robert, though. As you're talking about, you got 3 teenagers now. Now, you can see it one of two ways. I know my friends have got their teenagers. Now, there's either the excitement of, okay, they're getting closer to getting out the house, or there's the other side where you're like, am I getting older? So which one hit you when you're going to this paintball party?
You know what? I think it's a mixture of all of it. I don't know if there's like one thing. I think because my daughter is 17 and she comes into my office and I have a dry erase board in here and she puts on the wall Brittany's college countdown until she leaves. So and she changes that. So that makes it real for me every day. I'm literally seeing, okay, whoa, these little beings that we created they're kind of starting their journey on the way out of the nest here, right? And then I've got the other 2 that are behind her, and I'm seeing their growth and their progress and recognizing that it's happening right before my eyes. And literally there are days where I'll have my office door open and one of them walks by and I'm hearing them talking and I'm like, whoa, who's in my house? Right? There's somebody that's not supposed to be here because there's a different voice or a voice that I'm just recognizing. Wow, the voice is growing. So I think maybe subconsciously I do some things to not make myself feel as old. For example, participating in paintball yesterday.
But you seem, Robert, as well, that you don't even have to work hard to not feel old. Seriously, this is props to you. You seem, I think 3 act youthful, we feel good. And I must say, Frank, the other side of that, as one who has adult children, I think part of it could be how moms and dads feel about their kids and the different roles, as it were, we play to some degree. But I know for me, and I could be the only, if other dads out there feel different, let me know. But I'm kind of excited. Not all my kids are leaving. I have one child in the home, one child who's already out living in another country, by the way, grown man, 26. But for me, I'm happy. I'm excited for the journey, excited to spend more time, different time with my wife, travel even more and visit them. I mean, we've prepared them for this period of time. So that's just how I feel. I don't feel like, oh, they're leaving. I'm like, and not like, yay, get out, but more like it's that time. It's supposed to happen. That's for me.
Yeah, speaking of that time, I mean, I think it's a good transition to talk about it because, we are still in this time of COVID and we were talking earlier about the fatigue, but you're talking about, your kids are out of the country and, Robert, you're talking about your daughter, going away. So we're talking about travel and we know, we're about to come into springtime here and, spring starts getting like, okay, family trips, travel, work, conference season travel. What's going on with your life, gentlemen? Like, do any of you guys have any travel coming up? And are you looking forward to travel? Because we've been locked down now for about a year. I mean, first week of March will be 1 year since I stepped on an airplane.
Yeah. Wow. I think for me, this month, February was the last time that I flew anywhere. I had a gig in Vegas, last February, and my wife was like, when she found out I was going, she said, "Oh, I'm coming to Vegas too," because it was right around Valentine's Day, right? So She said, "Let's do this thing." So that was the last time that I flew anywhere. I'm kind of conflicted, man, because I love traveling. I love flying and going to places. I mean, I hear a lot of speakers talk about, "Oh, I'm tired of flying." I love flying. I love traveling, man. But there's also the introvert part of me that really enjoys the time just being in my office and not having to people that much or go anywhere. So I'm like, I don't know. I mean, maybe 6 months of each. I don't know, man. We'll see.
And for me, Robert, I've just booked just this second. Click the button on the airline, purchase some tickets to visit friends out in the West, in the state of Colorado. But the point being is that here's my take on that, Frank. I think that I do miss, I think I'm missing more. I told somebody I could be on a Zoom call all day, but I do miss serving and being in front of audiences in the stage, but I could do that right around the corner. But I think the travel I miss is just visiting friends. So I don't know if that makes sense. Not to travel to Portugal or travel to Austin to speak, but I think I miss the audiences. On the other hand, though, I'm excited to get in a plane and just go to a hotel with my lady, visit some friends. That I'm excited about, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a hybrid.
It makes a lot of sense, but the three of us do like to travel, whether it be for work or personal. And we're just explorers, because you gain knowledge and we grow when we travel, and you realize it almost feels stunted. And on the flip side, like what Robert was saying, was I had a client who reached out to me and goes, "Hey, would you be interested in coming doing a hybrid program?" And not saying it's all about the check, but when they said what their budget was, I'm going, okay, is that really worth it for me to drive an hour plus versus leaving my home? I could be around the family and enjoy. So we actually worked out, a happy medium where I'm just going to do it all virtual. But that became a consideration now in this new world, because we've been working hybrid or virtual. And it's like, oh, wait, you want me to leave my house? So there's that consideration. So, I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one. Someone calls you right now. So this is a business deal, and they want you to either come in person or you can do it from home. Like, what's the thoughts there, Robert? What do you think?
Well, I love being able to have the people inside the room with me, because as a trainer, when you do training activities, there's some things that work really well in person, and they kind of bring a different level of excitement to that training session. That said, I think I'm maybe a little bit more snobby now about the time, especially online. So, I mean, like the other day, I had a previous client call and said, "Hey, can you do some sessions for us a little bit later on down in the year? Can you do them virtually?" And they said, "Give us some dates, and we want you to do it like a 4-hour training session." And I'm like, "What?
Yeah,
4 hours?"
That's a bit rough.
And it was 4 hours, and also it was 4 hours, and then I'm like weighing the amount. Like I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do that. So I mean, I think if anything, it's made me a bit more picky.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, as you said, Frank, I know what you meant, so I'm not bothering you, but I know you said it's not all about the check. But I can speak for both of us. I could be wrong. I guarantee Robert. I mean, I guarantee Frank. If somebody said, "Robert, we got a $500,000 budget, could you speak for 4 hours?"
Oh yeah.
Listen, you got me all day.
You know what?
You got me all day.
I think we can do that. And so, to our point, I think, and a lesson for those listening and those if we're helping, yes, we love to serve, and I'm sure they've done things. I've done things for free, honorarium, and all that. But absolutely, I'm doing the big numbers here, just making fun here. But you give me $75K, I don't care where it is. I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm going right now. Gone.
All day. 2 15-minute breaks, and we're good.
It's a new consideration in the business. Now, as far as the ROI, because we're going, okay, which one? And I said, for this group, they only wanted me for 30 minutes. So 30 minutes to put about 4 or 5 hours of time there, back, set up. And I was like, I can just roll down the hallway to my office and go in and do the program. So, I mean, that's going to be, like, as you said, it's not really being, quote, picky or snobby. It's just, we've got other business considerations to make now in this new virtual world.
That's right.
Yeah. So Coney's like, $500,000 for 4 hours? I'm down.
I think you may have a line of Frank's peers, my peers, and some others who in there. We can all join this, Coney. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think one of the things that we were talking about earlier as well, though, as speakers, we're looking at the change. But what's on the flip side? Do you think that audiences, employees, teams inside of corporations, are they getting tired of virtual events, virtual meetings? What's the pulse there? What are you hearing?
From my take, I think so. And again, it's hard to predict it. Who knows what the American or global psyche is? But I think so. Yes, we were talking about seeing the documentary Last Dance with Michael Jordan. Gentlemen, when I was watching the crowds of the 1998, was it, Frank, I think, era or something like that? Yeah. Watching the 1998 or 2000. Yeah, well, 1998. Anyway, the point is, watching the crowds of that era, I was like, wow, I haven't seen this in ages. So I think so. There is safety and security, and I think we don't have to get deep into it, but I think part of that is a bit of not, political is the wrong word, but your point of view of the world. Because I know some people would probably 1,000 people would get together today if they could. They'd get together. So, but the answer is yes. I think people are tired of it, and I think 2022, based on the headline, I think I was reading to you all, Hyatt CEO said corporations are booking now for 2022 events.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think the other part is, like you said about the fatigue is, last year in March and April came around, everybody jumped onto, Zoom was the big one. So everybody jumped onto Zoom and, it's your slides and little itty bitty you in the corner. And then we did that for, a year now. And now the audiences are getting, more mature and they want something different. So as we look at the screen that we have set up right now, using the software that we're doing, we got different faces, we got interactions, and now it's becoming more of this production. So I know even for me recently, I've been using new software and going because the audiences, once again, they've gotten mature, they know what they're looking for, and they want something different. And I think that's where a lot of fatigue is coming from, because they've seen the same canned deal, little person in the corner or Microsoft or WebEx or Google. And it's like, there's just, big face in the middle of the screen. Now we've got, overlays and we're looking like these, we're doing TV productions and now they want that. So it's just a case of the evolution of what's going on virtually. So we have to recognize the fatigue and do something to address it.
Yeah, and Frank, remember, we're also competing with Netflix, Hulu, HBO, ABC, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, and 7,000 other Ramon's YouTube videos, Frank's, Robert. So forget the events, yes, but we're competing with all that.
Yeah. I mean, I've asked people to be engaged in a program like, okay, how many screens or devices do you have open right now? And usually the average is about 3. And I'm like, I'm not going to, I was like, how many screens do you have open? And, we'll have people like, hey, it's like, do you get bored of virtual? And their hands go up, say yes. And I go, but you're supposed to be giving virtual presentations. I was like, and like you said, we're competing with all these. I'm like, would you rather watch Netflix or watch you? And they all go Netflix. I'm like, then what do you need to do with your presentation? Which is, obviously that's why we got Robert. So I'll let Robert, you're the guy that talks about communication, how to be engaging. What have you seen or what are you teaching?
Well, so I think one of the things that I have discovered is that a lot of times when people say we're tired of presentations or we're tired of virtual meetings, they're tired of boring virtual meetings. They're not they're not tired necessarily of virtual meetings. And so I have gone to using the terminology virtual experiences. So when I share with companies, when I share with organizations, I'm asking them, how intentional are you being about your virtual experiences? So when I say intentional, it's not just like, oh yeah, we're intentional. We're using Zoom. That's intentional. We sent out the right link. So I'm like, okay, what are the opportunities? What are the intentional opportunities in your planning that you are creating for engagement and interaction? And if I were to give you a guideline, my guideline would be, okay, for every 5 minutes you are in that meeting or that session, plan for 2 ways that they can interact, respond, or engage. That may be through the chat, that may be through a poll, that may be through a game that you brought up, that may be by sending them somewhere, that may be by clicking something specific. So, I mean, there are a lot of different things. I'll let one of you guys talk, but I just want to share this last thing. So I did this event last year, and an activity that I did, there were about 300 people on this thing, and I set up breakout rooms, and I said, I'm going to send you to breakout rooms. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to choose an object in your room to share with the rest of the people in your breakout group, and tell them why this object is meaningful to you. I said, here's the caveat. The object cannot be an arm's distance. You must get up out of your seat and go get this object. So listen, it was hilarious to see executives and people just getting up, they're running around, and because they had a time limit, they knew that they had to go get the object in like 60 seconds or less, or 90 seconds, come back out of breath and share with their group why it was important. So it was interesting, and it was fun and funny to see some of the people that you kind of look at as serious, and they're coming back out of breath. Oh my God, this is a toy that my dog plays. And here's why it's meaningful. So we've got to create experiences for people.
Yeah. I mean, I explain to people, especially some that I'm coaching now, is like, guys, like I want you to be professional engagers, providing these virtual experiences. And like you said, just even the setup of the terminology will change people's minds and perspective. And Clubhouse, I've been hanging on there a lot lately. We'll get into that here in a second. But been hanging out in Clubhouse with either speakers' rooms or event planners' rooms. And they're going like, oh, same things. Like, how do I keep people from being bored? And we're saying, you have to set the experience before they even show up. Like, it's almost like a movie. We're saying Netflix, you've got movie trailers. So I know I've been shooting videos for all the clients ahead of time, showing them this type of stuff, going, hey, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to work with you. And giving them like just that brief example of, oh, it's not going to be a lecture. It's not going to be boring. It's not going to be Zoom, to get people going. We've watched, they'll post on social media, watch their numbers like, oh, we got 30 reserved. Oh, now we got 100. Just based off of the fact that they meet the speaker ahead of time.
Nice. And I will say, for those listening to us here and the brands out there, if you're tired of having boring events, you're tired of having hosts and presenters at your events that just, how do I say this in English? Don't meet the bar. You're tired of that. Frank, Robert, and myself, we're available as a package or individual. I mean, listen, I know you think you can't afford us. And most people can't. That's true. You can't. But if you go through me, I will work with Frank and I work with Robert to try to give you a rate that you probably can adjust to. So corporations out there,
there's more.
Listen, so I mean, I think one of the things also that is simple, and I do this a lot in my virtual sessions, is to utilize simple pattern disrupts. Like I'll tell a joke. Right. Right. I'll ask a question. Right. I'll ask a question and I'll say, how many people would like this? And they're like, oh my gosh, that's great. And I'm just like, well, introducing blah, and I'll make a big deal out of something. So, I mean, you hear me come into Zoom or whatever with music and those types of things. So there's a reason for it. It's not just because, I'm a Broadway nut or anything of that nature.
Can you tell people, Robert, how you did that? Just don't get too geek, but just tell us the tool. Was it that black box with the button on it? I forgot what you call that thing. The one that was it that one?
The Stream Deck?
Yeah, was it Stream Deck or other things you're doing?
I could use my Stream Deck. I did not. I'm using an application called Farrago, which is a soundboard.
Got it.
Yeah. So I just kind of pipe that in. Farrago.
And send Frank your affiliate link as well, because that's going to be at Frank's house and my house tomorrow. But to your point, and clearly the psychology of it, Robert. You called it. I have something to say, but pattern disrupt. What is it? What did you call it?
Pattern disrupt or pattern interrupt. Yeah.
Right. I was listening to a service yesterday, TD Jakes, and again, I shouldn't be PC. Those who are not into faith and all that, just fine. Just get the point I'm making here. But listening to, thank you. I'm just so used to these corporations. Wait a minute. He said, TD, we got to put a disclaimer.
If you don't Jesus.
But my audience knows. Yes, indeed. My audience knows where I stand. But point is, TD Jakes, similar to your point. And I think those of us who grew up, I'm sure it's not just Black Baptist Church. And I happen to not be Baptist. But what I'm trying to get at is this.
Yeah.
TD Jakes had the music, as if you've heard in his speeches, built in, and the imagery. So as he was crescending, I think it's the word crescendoing, and talking about what he was saying, you could hear the drum as he was. So I don't know if it was scripted, they practiced it, or if his team knows him so well. Not. But to the point, it was so good. It was so, and it wasn't the whole time. It was like, say, about 60 minutes. Yeah. Maybe they had 5 minutes, nothing, 5 minutes, then. Meaning there were times when you could feel his pain as he was talking or his joy, and the music was tight. It was good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a musician's job, number one. But the second piece of this, though, is also understanding what specific elements do or what effect they have on human emotion or response. I mean, think about a few years ago, I had the opportunity, somebody was sharing something and they were like, think about if you were to watch a horror movie without the music in the background.
Boy.
Right? So and then they did it, and they showed us somebody kind of walking down the hall and peering around the corner, and it was just like, okay,
yes,
why is this person walking down the hall and peering around the corner? But then when you add you're adding all of that. Think about the Jaws movie, right? Without the music, no Jaws, dun, 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 you don't have that. Then it adds or it deletes or diminishes the experience. Right. So using those additional elements is another way of creating a more exciting virtual experience.
Yeah, and I'd love to share these two things. I'll share them when I'm doing presentations, but someone showed me, Plato said that we can learn more about people in an hour of play than a year of conversation. So when we do these engagement games and activities, we're actually allowing them to better showcase who they are. But then on the flip side, years ago, Ohio State, they had a professor there, and they did a study on music and sound, and they go, people are 20% more productive when they're listening to music, even if it's music they don't like.
Wow.
So when we start to play this music or do the sounds, we're drawing people in because, we read emotions when we communicate. 80% of communication is nonverbal. So it's the sound, it's the tone. It's, my son with a movie, anytime a creepy music comes on, he leaves the room before he even sees the scene. That's how tied into emotion that he is. Yeah. So that's how humans are. So as we share with people, I go, hey, we are putting on, as you said about these experiences, we are putting on small scale TV productions, and we need to think about every piece outside of just the speech to make it better.
Yeah. So what is it then about maybe our work environment or the corporate environment that many companies are so averse to I'll just say the extra stuff, the music, the things to make people pay attention. Even when I go in and I talk about business storytelling,
I think because they're very afraid, which I understand to a degree. You take a company, I'll just mention my client, Verizon's a client of mine. I do a lot of work for them. And I think the reason they're having me, as I know you all work with great brands like this, because they know what we value, we provide a little bit of what you're saying. That's why they want to work with us, right? Because, we're not going to be boring. But to your point, I think they'd be deathly afraid. Was the wrong sound hit? Nobody wants to be in the New York Times for the wrong reason. And then two.
Oh, no. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Can you do this again? I like this. So here we go. No one wants to be in the New York Times for the wrong reason.
Yeah. Oops, wrong thing. That was Frank.
All right. Good job, Frank.
There we go. All right.
But the point is, and the second thing is that, to make the production value. So I think they're definitely afraid. It's like boring, everybody expects. But what if we promise something, especially, hey, everybody, we're going to have the lights go out at 3:37? It doesn't happen. So that's my guess, the not wanting the wrong thing to happen.
But the wrong thing happens quite often in
boredom.
Work or in corporate environments. Well, I mean, not just boredom. I mean, just you think about
I see, regular
project,
stuff.
right? So my wife she works for, I won't say the name of the company, but she works for a financial investment firm, right? Yeah. And they have these projects, and she's a project manager, and they have these projects that they say, okay, yep, it's going to take us 8 months to do it. 4 years later, they're still working on this thing because all of these different things went wrong during the process, or there were things that not necessarily that they went wrong. You just didn't consider.
Yeah, but Frank,
certain things.
I mean, but Robert, the CEO's chair didn't break. The light didn't fall on the CEO's head. The table didn't crash. That's a little different.
but at the same point, we'll see people. I'm going to throw the department under the bus here in a second. But a lot of people are uncomfortable stepping out of their experience or their comfort zone. So when you hear about, it's going to be all this interactive, it's like, well, no, we just, we have to get our ECUs and we have to get, bullet point. And you get a lot of these trainings or, sorry, HR people, you get these boring HR presentations where it's just, hey, I'm going to put a whole bunch of bullets on the screen and I'm going to read the bullets. Okay, there you go. There's your training. And they don't recognize that, hey, guess what? You have to give that information, but you have to give it in a context where people are going to not only absorb it, but remember it and then actually replicate it.
Right.
And and they're so used, because, I speak a lot of HR groups. They go in like, oh my God, that was so different. Because they've just been used to all these groups coming in, and it's just like I said, it's just bullet, death by PowerPoint. State a little number at the bottom of the corner, slide 27, slide 28. There's and that's the deal. And when you come in and say, hey, we're gonna mix this up, it's never been changed before. Why should we? It's like, guess what? That's why no one's showing up. You're watching your numbers go down. So it's up to us as business owners and presenters to educate people about the successes that they can achieve by changing it up. So it's all with the vetting process on both sides.
I can imagine your clients, Frank, saying, Can you believe that guy? He told us to chat in yes or no. If we agree, we have to hire him again. We have to hire him again.
Groundbreaking.
Funny as you say that, I get a group to go. A speaker calls me up out of the blue. It's like, Frank, we want to get hired by this group, and they go, well, you have to do exactly what he did. Like, what did you do? And I'm like, I didn't hang out backstage. I talked with everybody. I walked through the expo. I stayed connected. I judged a couple of panels. Like, well, you did. And the thing was, that was out of the norm for the client, where people like you and, Robert, I know you do it all the time. So I realized, okay, I must be just hanging out with good people. But you realize there's people just show up, grab the check, or just show up, punch in like 9 to 5, do my training, get out. And they're not invested in the people that they're truly, working with. They're not invested in the results these people will achieve.
Yeah. I mean, I do it. It's kind of like a cheat code for me when I go to different events, or if I'm the keynote for something, and I go into an event and I interact or I mingle with the people beforehand, and then in my keynote, I'll say, I had an experience. I was talking with Ramon earlier, or blah 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 blah. It's not right, Frank. And I can call somebody's name, and I can make that connection with them. And listen,
people love that, man.
People love it, and it's not just the people that are listening to you, or the people whose name you call. It's everybody else around. It's like, whoa, he knows Ramon's name, right? Who else's name does he know? And now they start listening because he's calling people's name. Maybe he'll call mine. So, I mean, all of this is engagement. This is interaction. This is, just being an actual interested human being.
Yeah. And it's funny you said that. I'll share one more story. I know we got to transition, but when you brought that story up, I got my good friend Roger. Hopefully he's listening right now. But Roger was keynoting a conference, and I was going to be there the day after him. And he goes, he's like, I'm on the bus coming from the airport back when we could travel. And the group's going like, man, I hope the keynote's not boring this year. And they're talking to him, and they hadn't seen the booklet or anything. And he's like, it's like, what are you coming? He's like, I'm coming for the conference too. And he's having honest conversation, but they said nothing about him being the keynote speaker. Mm-hmm. And he's having conversation. So when he stepped out on the stage, because he's in a t-shirt and hoodie, and then he gets on stage, he's got the suit on. And he goes, hey, where's my group from Wisconsin? He goes, are you guys bored? And he's like, but as you said, it's those little special moments that really pull people in.
That's funny. The last time, Frank, that I was like hanging outside, and just one of the people, some guy gave me his car keys to park his car. So I didn't have anybody say that, but I just got car keys. Like, could you park my car? So that was my.
Were you wearing a red jacket?
Well, I mean, was it the vest days? Because for a while, a lot of the hotels were doing the vest. So I mean, you pull over, you're probably looking.
You guys are being very nice and polite.
So speaking of polite, let's change a little bit. We're talking about engagement, interaction, and we talked about it a couple of shows ago, and talking about engaging, interaction. Some people being polite, some people not being polite. I talked about Clubhouse earlier, and I know both of you are on there, and I know that Ramon, you've got a show coming up right after this. Mm-hmm. How are you guys been using Clubhouse now? It's about a month or two in. You're all into it. Like, how's it working for you? And what's going on?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think three things. I think one, I'll be frank, I am a little bored of it for me. As far as the listening part, not that we can't learn, but I guess because I'm being fed everything that I want, and not that we all can't learn, but I am in the space of podcasting, so I don't need to know what kind of mic to use. If I do, I'll just ask Robert or Frank. I don't need to know how to do virtual events. If I want to take it up a notch, I'll just ask Robert or Frank and be done with it. So my point is, the algorithm's feeding so much of already what I know, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of to hear another one about mindset. It's for me, it's not. However, second thing, will be using it to connect better with my tribe. So whether it's 5 people, 10 people, 30, no problem to me. Smart Hustle Growth Tips, try to do it on Fridays at 4:30. So we'll see how that goes. And the third thing now are the brands that I'm working with. And that's what I'm seeing as opportunity. So many of the brands are coming back to me, Ramon. So I'm going to be on it because as an influencer, I need to be. So that's how I'm using it. And the last thing I'll say for the average, there's no average, but small business person, I think it's useful, but I wouldn't say that you have to quit Facebook, quit LinkedIn today, especially if you're not trying to build your tribe. If you're just happy with 50 people, 2 people following you, 200 people, it's not going to make or break your business yet. Yeah. So That's what I'm seeing. Robert?
Yeah. So, I mean, I love what Ramon was saying, and I'm fully aligned with that. I mean, you've got to have your own personal strategy around it and know yourself, know thyself, right? Because when I first got on, to be honest, I was overwhelmed. There was just like a lot of talking. It was the old party line from the 90s, except there was a visual feed or whatever. But as I went into rooms, I had an overwhelming feeling, just overwhelmed because of consumption, just like information overload, just talking. And what I found out was that I have my limits where that's concerned, and I do better if I am either hosting or moderating or the speaker in a room. And that's my goal. But I also do not go into super large rooms where you've got to wait online for 45, 50 minutes before you can even be brought up to the stage to speak, in rooms that are not well moderated. So from a business perspective, I pick and choose the ones that I go into where I can serve, I can make a difference, I can be heard, and then end and leave. And I also try to host. So I've been doing like Ramon, trying to host picking a specific time that I'm going to be hosting rooms. And I've been doing that for the last few weeks.
And I just want to give a shout out to Kirosha. Welcome, Kirosha. So glad you're here. And everybody else who's listening, joining, commenting. Thank you all for being here. Again, Frank Kitchen, amazing speaker, mindset expert. You can find him on his regular website, frankkitchen.com. Robert Kennedy III hosting this. And if you're watching it, you're already on his platform. So Robert Kennedy and Ramon. Just want to give that commercial break.
Awesome. Kirosha saying, she's talking about Clubhouse. The information is overwhelming. She just joined, but learned so much in 3 days. Yeah, there's a lot to learn. It's kind of like going into an audio library and just sitting there and all the books falling on you at the same time.
So she threw that question out and she says overwhelming. Let's go ahead and put on our trainer caps right now. And for everybody who's listening and watching right now, I'll start with you, Robert. If you had to give one pro and one con for Clubhouse, I'd love for you to give those, but also for people who are new to it, how would you say is the best way to use it? And then Ramon, I'll come back with the same question. So how would you use it? What's the best way to get the most out of Clubhouse?
It really having an idea of why you're there in the first place. Am I there to get information about small business? Am I there to get information about entrepreneurship? Am I there to get information about public speaking, storytelling, HR, whatever it is? Have that idea. And then the second thing that I would say is give yourself a time limit, because you could go in and before you know it, it's 4 hours later. And that doesn't work for me. I'm not there 4 hours later because I kind of have this thermostat that kind of goes, the more talking that I hear, the more peopling that I got to do, it goes up. So after a while I start twitching and I got to leave. So, but for anybody else, I hear people saying, oh my gosh, I went in for 10 minutes and 5 hours later. So have a time limit for yourself and understand your why.
Nah, so true. And Frank, I think my response to that is I think I'll give something very tactical. Let's say if you're a business owner not trying to build a community or have influence or get 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 people, one way is definitely to connect with others. Imagine it kind of like a high-powered LinkedIn. So let's say, for example, I've been trying to target Frank, get him to notice me or whatever it is, work with him. If I follow Frank, I think you can notify every time Frank's on. Not bombard him when he's on. Well, that's the third thing you can do. But just be there and listen to Frank every time he's on. That's one. Two, especially if you're in a smaller room, or maybe I'm not sure if it's first come, first serve, can you raise your hand? Not to pitch him right there, but just let him hear your voice. Ask, hey, Frank, I'm Ramon from New Jersey, and I just wanted to ask, really, I appreciate what you said before. Here's my question. You do that 5 to 10 times, Frank is going to notice you. And then the third thing, since there's no direct messaging yet on Clubhouse, most likely Frank is on IG doing stuff, or Twitter direct, because that's how the communication is at Clubhouse. So those are the three things I would say. So I'm going to DM Frank on IG. Hey, Frank, your comments were great. And the rest is sales 101, not hard pitching him yet. But then he may say, hey, Ramon, wow, thanks. It's been the 47th week since you've been with me. let's have a conversation. Bing, I got it now. I accomplished my goal.
Yeah,
Right?
and I like how you just said it. Goal is the big one. I've got groups who ask me, like my wife's like, "Oh, you're on that Clubhouse again," and I'm using it for like little bits and pieces, but it's like it's a lot of times it's background noise. So if I'm cooking in the house or if I go out for a walk, whatever, I can listen to it, what's going on. But the ultimate goal for me is I'm going with the goal of, let me attract clients. So I've actually attracted, coaching clients because you go into one of Robert's rooms, you go somewhere and you speak and people see it and they read your profile. So I'm going with the goal of that. And I see Clubhouse almost like is going to networking meetings.
Yes.
You go to a networking meeting, you have to go there with a goal. Are you going there to look for clients? Are you going there to, look for work, or just going there to meet the influencers? So as you get onto Clubhouse, you have to have, okay, what is my goal today? And my whole goal based from my profile to the way I interact with people is I go into the room looking for people who want to get better at speaking and get paid to get speeches. So those are the rooms I go and jump in and quote, I'm eavesdropping into their conversations. I'm like, oh my God, I'm struggling. And then I follow what, Ramon said. I reach out to them through a DMs like, hey, come join my tribe. Come join my Facebook group. And they come in there and they leave me information and boom, it transfers into something. So it's been helping me grow organically because everybody's got all these followers on social media. But the people who've been following lately have actually been more engaged than in previous ways. So I like Clubhouse that way, but you got to go in with the goals.
Yeah, you said networking event, bad introvert nightmares, man. You're the memories. I'm just kind of like, but remembering my first networking where you don't want to go in, man. You're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people in there, and I have to talk to them. I got to talk to people. That's kind of why I'm here. And so I remember going to networking events and being so overwhelmed that I would just make up a reason to walk out of the room. I like pretend to go to the bathroom and I really didn't have to go. So yeah,
I've done that before once or twice. I know that feeling. Excuse me, real quick. I just gotta, but to your point, I think Frank about about for as it were, solo entrepreneurs, bad word, but meaning you're trying to get a specific client. Absolutely, for sure. It's a great way. I love your approach. And I've seen other people do that, Frank. If you're given 80 to 90% authentic information saying, hey, listen, if you DM me, I'll give you the report or whatever it is. That's sales 101, building your funnel. No shame in it. That's a great way because you provided value. And especially what I like is I think it short circuits. LinkedIn's great, but just kind of compare them in a bad way. People hear your voice. So I've just heard Frank for 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, give knowledge, liked how he said it. And we are biased, right? So if you like the voice, you know what? Let me see what this gentleman have to say. So yeah. And also it does. I think when you mentioned short circuiting LinkedIn, I think one of the things maybe that I don't want to use the word discouraging, but that's different for LinkedIn is in order to communicate with people, you've either got to call them directly, which means you got to get their contact information, or you try to get them on their LinkedIn messages or in mail. And my gosh, that can be hit or miss. You don't know when you're going to get a response for some of those. So if you're in a Clubhouse room and you're able to speak to somebody directly and or just say on their IG DMs, hey, I just heard you in X room, that definitely gets you a little bit closer more quickly. Right. And I've met new people there too, which has been great. I mean, I've been in rooms where just most of the people I have been, except people who are kind enough to listen to me, Frank, and others, of course. But meaning my point, I met a lot of new people who didn't know. And they're like, we heard you and now we're, friends, as it were. So.
Yeah. I think the big one is it's the theme of Clubhouse and everything we've been speaking on today as I start to tie this up is it's just about being real and being genuine and being authentic. Whether it be with the family, as we started off earlier, whether it be about how we speak and connect with clients, or even going to this Clubhouse piece, what we've been talking about today is just about how to be real and genuine as business leaders and as humans. We have to be real and genuine. So as we start to wrap up, gentlemen, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and we'll go through each of us here. I'll start over with Robert because you're on that side of the screen for me. I mean, right now, what's just, parting note. How can people be more real and genuine in this COVID world where we're still socially distant and we don't get that chance to get those interactions with people?
Well, I like to be strategic, and I like to tell people don't live by accident, live by intention, right? And so that might be something where you say, you know what, I need to make 5 connections or 5 authentic connections. I need to have 5 conversations today. A lot of the reason why I don't make connections on a daily basis sometimes is because I haven't planned it. I haven't planned it. I haven't said I'm going to do it. And so we all fall into status quo, our comfort zones. And so we've got to be intentional about stretching ourselves and getting out of our comfort zones. I did a motivational moment this morning, and there was a quote that I shared. It said, don't limit your challenges. Instead, challenge your limits.
Mm. That is powerful. And I think for me, I think one thing I'll just say is that it's kind of, I don't know if it answers the question, Frank, but I've just enjoyed watching us as we work together here. I think it's amazing how you have 3 speakers who all have big egos. My guess is probably Frank has the biggest ego of all. That's Robert, what I would say. And Robert's like, no,
it's the guy with the palm tree. That's the automatic ego booster right there.
but no, just teasing you, Frank. You know I love you, man. But no, I just think it's been beautiful how we're all speakers. We're not lacking in words, but able to serve and riff and help. So I think for me, I just wanted to say, others who are looking to do things like this, and others who are looking to do that, you want to find people who you enjoy being with. People who you roll with, people you have nothing to prove to in a good way, and things will happen. So I don't know if that answers it, Frank, but I'm just saying that's my perspective. Because even on Clubhouse, I've been on Clubhouses with friends of mine. Adrian Miller's one. We just roll. She joins, and she's a baller. She has her own networking group. But when it's my show, so I just like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, everything you both are sharing, I'm loving. And Karosha's like saying that she loves it too. Challenge your limits. Yeah, Karosha, I'll leave you with this one, and for everybody. Like, today's my good friend. His name is Joe Fingerhut, and he's a speaker, and today's his birthday. But the one thing he speaks about on stage is he goes, do something that scares you. Mm-hmm. Do something that scares you. And because he talks about how we can transform that into living our dreams. So everything we've talked about today, whether it be starting off, paintball is scary, but it allowed you to have an authentic moment with your son. The only reason I say this was I went to my nephew's 14th birthday party, and it was paintball, and every kid took aim at me. Big target, so I'm like, paintball's hurt. But that was scary. But the case was we were able to go and bond. Stepping on a stage in front of people and speaking, that's the scariest thing in the world, to speak in public. Or even now to try a new device, try a new software system. It's or even 3 guys who really didn't know each other that well to come together for a show. It's something scary, but when we truly go after things that are scary, we end up getting, great results and things that we can build upon. And like we said earlier, we can grow. So that's going to be the big piece about today, is just keep doing things that are going to help you grow. And in order to do that, we've got to drop, a quick plug. So gentlemen, throw off your website so people can learn how they can grow from the knowledge that you share.
Absolutely. www.smarthustle.com.
All right. And I'll just give my speaker website today, robertkennedy3.com, robertkennedy3.com.
And then for me, it's www.frankkitchen.com. That's Frank and then kitchen spelled just like the room.com. So gentlemen, I've had a pleasure working with you again. We got to talk a little bit about life. We definitely laughed a lot, and it's because we were dropping lollipops all day, giving some sweetness out there to the audience. So thank you. So much. I can't wait to work with you again here in about 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
All right, y'all. Have an awesome rest of your week. Let's get some corporate music happening. Here we go.
Yeah.
See y'all a little bit later.
Thank you, Karosha.
Here's the singing part. There we go. Ooh, yeah.
You can tell he's played that before, Frank. You saw how he got that right on time?
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
you gotta make it look like it's just improv. That's planned improvisation, if I can say that. Improvisation.
All right, bye y'all.
See you later.